All right, guys, Thursday profit taking it is. Did you really think a Bitcoin breakout long trade was going to be that easy? That you just press the green button and price would just shoot straight upwards, just stair step up to your take profit with no red candles whatsoever? Well, clearly it is not going to be that easy. Price is going to give us a throwback. So it is Thursday and we are asking ourselves, did Bitcoin just get faded for the 19th time? And is this sell volume enough to signify that we must retest the lows of 8,600 that just 2 days ago seemed so close, yet so far away? We're gonna look over the charts and actually get the answer to that question. As you guys could probably figure out, I think I have a pretty good idea. But stay tuned. We've got a lot to talk about in today's exciting episode of Breaking Bitcoin Market Update.
I'm Samson Mo from Blockstream, and you're watching Breaking Bitcoin.
Yeah, you guys like that? Oh, here we go. All right. Welcome back to Breaking Bitcoin, everybody. This is your daily source for everything cryptocurrency markets and personal finance. I'm your host, lead analyst, and senior mentor at CrackingCryptocurrency.com. But I didn't say my name. It's Justin Wise. How you guys doing today? Hopefully you're doing absolutely fantastic wherever you happen to be on this glorious earth today. It is very, very hot still, but hopefully not as bad. I have gotten the AC a little improved in here. Hopefully you can hear. But however you happen to be watching us today, whether you're watching on YouTube, Twitch, DLive, Facebook Live, or on Roku with the Investor News Channel app. Okay, so much to talk about today. Before we begin, we're very proud to host one of the fastest growing communities of online traders and investors. Make sure to join us in our free Discord at discord.crackingcryptocurrency.com. Link is in the description down below. All right, so before we get into today's show, I want to talk about, in general, let's call it my opening rant. And it's going to be the same opening rant that I've had for the last 2 days, which is trade the plan, or plan the trade, excuse me. Plan the trade, trade the plan. Not a lot of time spent this morning for me. I woke up, I did my charting. I've been furiously working and plugging away at the Online Trading Academy, getting the last few bits and bobs done before I push it live this weekend or on Monday, depending on how quickly the bits and bobs process goes. But, just in general, individuals just distraught that Bitcoin put in a big sell candle with big sell volume to the downside, about 300 million on the sell volume there. And I asked them, well, have any of the conditions that we talked about for the last few days met? Have you reached the price level where you are going to exit in profit? Probably not, unless you're short, in which case possibly. Have you reached the price level at which you're going to exit in panic? For most of you, that probably should be no. Then this is what we would generally call throwback. After a fake breakout, throwback back into the range, and is generally, in a bull market, a buying opportunity. However, that's going to depend on your strategy in your particular trade setup. But again, the narrative remains, the rules remain the same. You follow the metrics, the plan of your strategy. You analyze your trade. Let's say you are trading with a strategy system like a pathways to profit system. Then you simply take the signals that your indicators give you, assuming that you have done the backtesting process correctly, the backtesting and the forward testing, you've done everything properly. Then it doesn't really matter in general on any individual trade, whether it's a winner or a loser. You're consistently position sizing, and the results of your strategy will carry itself forward throughout time. If you're trading discretionarily and you're applying rules to your discretionary trading, there's going to be much more wiggle room there. But if you apply the rules to your discretionary trading consistently throughout time and space, then you will achieve more consistent results. So again, my overall advice is, if you have not reached the price levels that you thought were significant yesterday, and the only thing that is maybe modifying your mind or making you think today is a big red candle or a big green candle, for that case, doesn't really matter. It's always different. It's always the same. Then it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter. It's not as important as you probably think it is. But we'll look at the technicals and see if you guys agree with me or not. Okay, yeah. So yeah, kind of my wrap up for that was actually, if we haven't reached your levels, well, then don't do a darn thing. This is trading. All right, today's headline. Today we're going to be covering, Ethereum and DeFi and scaling solutions and all of the money that is locked up. It's the most money that's been locked up on Ethereum since the last time we reported. It's the most amount of money that's been locked up on Ethereum and DeFi. But seriously, obviously, DeFi is a huge craze. We've been talking about it for a long, long time on this channel. Not as our speciality, but just keeping you guys abreast of what's going on. So interesting developments over there, and we'll be looking at kind of the future of Ethereum over the next 6 to 12 months and what effect DeFi and all of this Ethereum locked up could have on the network, and possible ways this could all play out for the good and for the bad. No real follow-ups on yesterday's news. Obviously yesterday we covered how the FBI has proprietary software that is tracking Bitcoin being utilized on the darknet and exchanged into Monero. That's a really good episode. You guys could definitely go check that out. I did not receive any warning emails from either the FBI or from darknet marketplaces, so it seems like we struck a nice balance between information and libertarianism. Okay, so with that being said, I want to shout out a few comment leavers, people who left comments on yesterday's video, and then we'll get into today's technical analysis. All right, let's get going, guys. This spot. All right. Yes, I decided we would just open up on this screen. If any of you guys would like to save this, excuse me, I was just modifying my mic. If any of you guys would like to save that as a wallpaper, go right ahead. That's all you. How you doing, buddy? You good? Okay. All right. All right, cool. 12 likes, no dislikes. Ooh, boy. Okay, so this was yesterday's video. Is this the pump you're looking for? 63 likes, 6 dislikes. Thanks, guys. Highly appreciate that. Mr. Ether, good friend. He says, I was sweating at work right along with you, but I am comfortably watching the show from my desk chair now. Yes, I have a kind of a portable BTU unit here in the office. It's very, very hot in here because of all the computer equipment. And just had to turn it off. So it's a little bit of a cooler day today. I've made a few little modifications. So hopefully the room is not as hot, but we will just proceed forward as much as possible. But thank you, Mr. Ether, so much for the comment. Shout out to you, my friend. And then over here, so this was older breaking Bitcoin bits that we had done. The Bitcoin 1%, how much Bitcoin will you need in 2030? Welcome to the Layer Cake. This was a good video where we really broke, you can tell, this is when I had the standing desk. This is a little bit older. So we really broke down just price projections for BTC and how the network is expected to grow and how much BTC I didn't even like my own video. You guys didn't see that. How much Bitcoin you could reliably, not even reliably, but how much Bitcoin, how little Bitcoin individuals might actually need to purchase now in order to have something that is of significant value in the future. And I wanted to point out Robert Levi's post here that he left about 14 hours ago. And he says, I hope that you are right. I'm an old man and I have 2+, assuming children, and allocating 20% of my leftover money each month to Bitcoin. It would be nice to have some money for my daughter's retirement 22 years from now. And first off, I think that's beautiful. And it just goes to show just kind of the world that we're living in right now, where individuals, really people from all over the world, everybody watching YouTube videos, everybody leaving YouTube comments, except for the bots that are bots, and they're pretty easy to identify because they say the same thing. These are all real, genuine human people with their own lives, with their own families, with their own, with their own backgrounds and histories, and their own hopes and dreams. And what I see universally across the space is this knowledge or this belief that Bitcoin is valuable on its merits and that it is a valuable asset to hold, kind of regardless of price. And this is probably why hodlers have been rewarded over and over again, because they hold regardless of price. So thank you so much, Robert Levi, for leaving that comment. That's quite a personal comment. It took a lot of courage to write that. So I hope everything goes well for you, and I am with you on the journey toward Bitcoin retirement. Maybe not retirement, but getting close to there. Okay, no analysis that I really posted today on TradingView. Did the comment shout outs. Trade of the day. Okay, so let's break down the trade of the day as opposed to a bunch of not trades of the day, which we would probably have more of today. And that's going to be Chili's, CHZ USDT. This was a trade that I called recently for the premium trading group. It just closed out this morning, actually. We took profit on this trade. So this is a good opportunity to break this down. So we held this trade for about 3 days. And it is now raining quite profusely outside. It just out of nowhere, there it came. So pardon me, we held this trade for about 5 days, maybe a little bit longer, but we do have the entry here. Let's go break this down. We did not take this. This was not a daily time frame signal. This was a little bit more discretionary. I identified, again, a significant area of support. I was quite bullish on the altcoin market moving into this week. Well, actually, kind of for the last month, alongside Alex, and maybe for the last, actually, I got to be realistic there. Really, the last 3 months, and we've been doing the majority of our work in altcoins. And Alex has been doing fantastic work for the last 2 months, calling the crypto signals for the premium signal service, doing a fantastic job. But when you are in at least for me anyways, my discretionary trading becomes much more active and frequent when things are quite bullish. And I think that that is true for a lot of people, but for me, it's for a very specific reason. Because I know and have noticed and have tested that over time, my discretionary trades tend to play out better when the market is quite bullish. If you trade in the direction of the dominant trend, and the dominant trend is quite strong, which is, those factors are all true when you are in a bull market, then you kind of have the benefit that you kind of throw a dart at CoinMarketCap, and you have a good probability to have a winning trade. And when you can strengthen that, like when you know that the odds are likely that things will go up and go down, which is the case in a bull market, if you can strengthen that with a rules-based discretionary system or an objective technical system, then you will have better results than that individual throwing the dart, because, you know, sometimes you get unlucky throwing darts. So anyways, coming down to support, entered CHZ USDT. Let's go here. Let's see here. IsaSpot is not actually generating a buy signal at this level, which is interesting because I thought that it did. But anyways, we did, when I was initially looking at this trade, a couple of things. I saw this sweep of these lows right here following 2 big volume spikes to the downside. Obviously very low volume as price actually ended up bottoming here. Put in a little bit of a rounded attempt, coming up and tapping resistance, which we'll get to here in just a little bit. That was actually our first take profit. But that wasn't to be, and we actually again came down and swept that low for liquidity, which was what really caught my eye. And you know, I heard I cannot remember exactly like how CHZ USDT came to be on my chart, whether it was from a daily scan or whether it was from a recommendation. I don't actually quite remember CHZ, but I remember liking the setup, obviously, just based on the kind of the horizontal level and this kind of a long downtrend. Whenever you see, generally, whenever you see an asset in a sector that is in a very, very bullish environment, and you see it, you know, retracing, because obviously it's had a nice pump and it's retracing. Other things are pumping, but this one isn't. Well, that you begin to want to look for opportunities to get in on pullbacks. So we were lucky enough to essentially buy very, very close to the bottom on this recent range on CHZ. Price moved up for a little bit for about a day there, just stalled out, even came almost back to our entry. But then it's been it's been a straight shot up for the most part. Consolidated here for about 3 days at our first take profit at around 12174. This is dollars. So that's about 1.2 pennies. And I wasn't sure if it was actually going to continue to make its way to the upside, but I did what I was supposed to do. I took initial profit. I moved my stop loss to break even. And then price, it's kind of beautiful because the second take profit was 0.12759. And the high of this candle was 0.12759. Now, I know that some individuals actually did get filled. There wasn't a lot of volume transacted at this level. I did not get a single coin. I did not get a single unit of my order filled at 0.12759. It just did not fill my order. Too much liquidity, and I think the same was true for a lot of individuals. So during my morning analysis this morning, what I did was I went ahead and removed that take profit level because we weren't there. We had tapped it and come back down. I removed that take profit level, and I actually got, I don't want to say greedy, but I was like, well, okay, let's see what happens if we continue to move forward. So I set my take profit level up to 0.13514. Which was a measurement of this recent move, right? This was a measurement of this recent move, measured from where price was currently at that point in time. So essentially just a doubling of the range. And to kind of hopefully make a little bit more sense, if that was not very clear, I would highly recommend you check out my rectangle bottoms tutorial. But I will display kind of what I'm talking about here. All right, so this is not a perfect rectangle bottom. In fact, I wouldn't even call it a rectangle bottom. This is really maybe a double bottom with the atom here and the eve here. But in any case, we do obviously have support where price turned around. We can actually see that sweep and consolidation back at support. Then we flip it back into support right here. Not that it ever turned into resistance, but again, one could have gotten faked out here to take a short. If you could short CHD USDT, it's not on Binance Margin. I'm not aware of any markets where you can actually short it. But having said that, so we have this range right here, and all I did was measure the distance of the range from support to resistance and extend that on to where price was currently at to get that 0.13514. Now, that was not to be. The other thing that I did, now, don't worry, I didn't take all this drawdown. The other thing that I did was, this is what price was looking like on the 15-minute. We can see that ISA spot, even if one would have been, even if one didn't have, for example, the roadmap from the premium signal that went out to our premium members for this particular trade setup, ISA spot here, which, again, other individuals don't have either, but there are certainly other technical indicators that would have signaled for a sell signal here. We do get that 15-minute signal here on CHD USDT. Price consolidates here for quite a while. Seems like it wants to make another run for 0.12759. But what I had actually done was I went ahead and when I canceled that take profit order, I moved my stop loss to just right here below our current, or at least that at that point in time, that level of support. So it's 0.12548, and I set it to trail. So I actually have not checked to see where my trade closed. I did see in my trading dashboard the P&L. So I do know that the trade was closed, but I did not note the exact price level. So that's about it. CHD USDT, good trade. I did not have to actively manage this trade. I, for the most part, watched this trade on the 4-hour time frame. Unlike Link and ADA and some other trades that I've been on the 15-minute time frame with, and even on the 5-minute time frame, in the case of Link, for example, that was not necessary for CHD USDT. So it just did exactly what it was supposed to do. So very good trade. Congratulations to the individuals in the group who took this trade, and this was a trade that I personally profited off of. So what we see right now, and CHE is a good example. We don't have to go look at it on Bitcoin, but we are going to here in a second. Is what just happened. Like this just happened. Like most markets just had a pretty, I don't want to say not a double-digit correction, but I'm going to say a pretty significant correction, right? Now, what is kind of exciting about this is that for me anyways, I got greedy when I saw this. So Link and KNC, which are trades that I'm in, I actually ended up doubling up my positions. I actually bought a little bit more Bitcoin on my Bitcoin position, and I will explain why I did that in a second. And it's been a second. So, look, there wasn't, this was not a huge volume spike near a bottom. Now, there are, of course, two ways to look at this. One is, man, look at all that selling volume coming in. This, right at local highs clearly indicates that the market has decided to shift, that the euphoria is over, and that the long-term trade is now to the downside. Certainly now, Justin, you could say with confidence that 8,600 is certainly inbound. And that might be true. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. But what I do know is that one big sell movement does not a bull market eradicate. And until we are below daily baselines, until we are below levels of support, until we have, even broken like some simple moving averages, what this represents to me is what I call is throwback. It's throwback. So throwback is the term used to denote. It's used by Thomas Bulkowski. I use it to denote anytime you look for price to break out of consolidation, and it does so, but very quickly or after a short period of time, it throws itself back down into the range that it was in, right? So this can happen with any chart pattern. This can happen with any level of resistance. This can happen with any level of support. I'm not sure what you would call it if you took a short and price fell through support and you were like, this is the breakout. Although I call those breakdowns because price is moving down, but I still hear people call them breakouts. Whatever, you guys are entitled to your own opinions and verbiage. Yeah, I don't know if you would call that a throwback. Maybe a throw up. That doesn't sound right. A throw up. That doesn't sound right. So I don't know. Thomas Bulkowski, if you're watching or if you happen to get this, send me a DM on Discord. We'll talk about it. Talk about the nomenclature. Big sell side volume, largely has been absorbed by the market at support areas for just about every trading pair, and almost immediately have been generated pretty decent intraday long trades to the upside. Right? We can even see ISA spot here, for example, on CHZ USDT, even giving us the kicker here. It's like, hey, buy down here. Yep. So here's CM Williams, VIX fix firing for the market bottom, and ISA spot confirming that, and price has already obviously didn't even get halfway down to our entry, but already pulling itself up back to our first take profit. And if I were going to speculate on this, I would probably expect a little bit of a rejection here, and then hopefully a higher low. That's something I would potentially look to take up to not 12548. But that's not what I'm going to do with CHZ, because CHZ was kind of a one-off for me. It's not something that I'm really actively interested in trading. So with that being said, that trade is concluded, closed, and perhaps I will publish essentially what I just said here on TradingView in the form of an analysis that individuals can, follow and utilize to guide their own trades and help them develop their own discretionary trading system moving forward. Okay, so that was the trade of the day. Let's get into today's market analysis, brought to you by Unity Point Health. Okay. If you break your leg skateboarding, there's no better place than Unity Point Health. I don't know. Made that up. Moving on. All right, so let's get zoomed out here. And let's start off with the daily time frame and the breaking Bitcoin system. And oh my Lord, look at that. Becky. Price consolidated at the baseline, pumped, and we're right back where we started. I mean, we are right back. I mean, we are at prices. We haven't seen prices this low since Monday. It's despicable. Okay. Seriously, that's how I feel. I'm not scared of this movement to the downside. Aggressively bought more and added to my long positions. And I was trying to think of a very polite way to say, I can afford to be wrong, but that's really not necessary. The entire point of this is we haven't violated any significant levels of support. We haven't closed on the other side of the baseline. I do like the high volume spike down, particularly on lower time frames, right into levels of support. And you can see the market responded very quickly, bidding it back up. And when the market refuses or ceases to bid it back up and bid it back up to a higher price level, I am predicating my trade on, then that's what we'll be in trouble. So really nothing here from this technical system today. Minx obviously generated a buy signal. Wadatar explosion had generated not a trading signal because we are not above the dead zone. So the volatility filter was firing, obviously. So if you're using Wadatar explosion's explosion level as a volatility filter to guide your trade entries as a vol filter, then that was a signal as well. However, this particular system utilizes Parallax, another one of our proprietary indicators, as a confirmer, and unfortunately, Parallax was not there yet. Now, the breaking Bitcoin system is what I have primarily traded Bitcoin with for the last 4 months. It's a strategy that I developed following my EMA 13 strategy that I used for the longest time with Minx primarily and other indicators as well. However, the one that I have developed, I don't want to say in a secret cracking cryptocurrency lab, but the one that I have come to favor. This is kind of an older system. I have spent some time improving it and just improving its win-loss ratio and percent profitability through some extensive backtesting just in my free time, and I quite like it. I think it is one of the most solid. It's certainly one of those solid baselines out there. I will tell you that the baseline on this particular strategy is, in my opinion, very, very good. It gets me into trades exactly when it should and tells me when they're not good trades to take. So we've been looking at this chart for a while. We had this close above the Donchian 26 baseline yesterday, obviously. A lot of individuals got quite excited for many different reasons about breakout longs yesterday. And as I jokingly said at the beginning of today's show, did you really think it was going to be that easy? I mean, I thought so too. Yeah, me too. I thought we were just going to go straight up in a straight line, no problem. That's not going to be the case. And so this is kind of a good learning opportunity, right? Again, something that is very, very evident to individuals who actually do trade, either as a hobbyist or for profit, or as a professional like myself for active income as their primary source of income. There's nothing predictive about technical analysis. Technical analysis allows you to have a plan when others do not. And we had a great community mentoring session yesterday. I want to thank everybody who came out. And kind of one of the narratives that I kept attempting to push or was focusing on quite a bit yesterday was, people, is I always try to guide people away from the idea that their technical analysis is right or wrong, because it could be either. You just have to wait for the market to play out. The market is going to do what the market does. The best that you can do is have a game plan to react and profit off of those movements after you identify either a strategy process, like Pathways to Profit, which we've laid out for individuals, or a discretionary system taking advantage of patterns that you see in the market, whether those are patterns in candles, whether those are patterns in price action, whether those are patterns in volume or volatility, or the order book or order flow, or whatever happens to be your particular edge. You identify patterns that repeat over time, you can apply consistent rules to, and that gives you something that almost everybody says that they have a plan, right? Mike Tyson said, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. When you develop a plan to deal with price when it does not do what you want it to do, when you are losing money, you will be far, far ahead of individuals, because every single trader, every person watching this show right now, whoever enters into a trade will eventually be in a situation where they stand to lose a little bit more than they're comfortable with, or are currently losing more than they are comfortable with right now. Maybe some of you right at this moment. And if you have a plan when you go into the trade, and then you are in that situation and you stick to the plan, and it's a good plan, you will be quite far ahead of most individuals. So again, very simply, I can't do all the work for you, but you need to know a few things when you get into a trade. When are you going to get out in profit and happy? When are you going to get out in panic to avoid further losses? Because it's not worth it. Well, if neither of those price levels have been hit, then you should probably do nothing. That's it. Sorry. All right. Mbay says, listen here, peasants. I don't care if I'm wrong, because I'm sitting on half a ton of precious metals. That is certainly not how I feel. Half a ton, how pedestrian. Let's see here. Mbate says, throwback would still be a valid term. It's going back to a previous level. Doesn't specify up or down. Yeah, here in mid-America, we definitely assume back is down. It's not point not. Like, oh no, my plans have come to naught. Oh no, my Bitcoin long has come to naught. Like, does it sound like I'm not saying not? Should I say it with a little bit of an accent and emphasize the AU and GH? The ought. Let's see. All right, so let's look at the indicators. Time transformation as the initiator is still crossed to the upside. No invalidation there. TSI, True Strength Index, as confirmer is still crossed up. No invalidation there. In fact, confirmation. So we have two indicators signaling long. Dynamic money flow, the vol filter, which is letting us know that money is flowing into the market, or it is generating its centered oscillator signal, confirmation, is still positive. So swing longs are still okay. No need to panic. The only thing that we would want to watch is following the baseline if one is using a baseline cross closure as an early exit signal. So the baseline on the Donchian is currently sitting at, I want to get the exact number for you guys, 92.50. 92.50, and price is currently trading at 92.38. So we do need to rally a little bit before daily close if we want to keep this swing long open. And I think that we will. Yeah, I think that we will. I feel pretty good about this long. And, you know, I can't move the market up by myself, guys. Can't move the market up by myself. But if you guys want to help out, you will be remembered as heroes. Okay. As far as chart patterns, classical technical analysis goes, the only interesting thing that I'm tracking here, really the only frame of reference that I have here, is a rectangle top pattern. That is where we're currently at. I don't really see anything else. If we go down to lower time frames, we could probably Apophenia style find all sorts of patterns if you want to chart them. Wedges, rises, splits, tumble. What's that little toffee candy? Toblerones. Yeah, that's a pattern. It's like a triangle with a. But Rectangle top pattern, we have 86.31 as support, 99.79 as resistance. Again, you guys are free to use your own numbers. I've been using the Bitfinex chart lately because I do like to switch things up. And again, there is something quite nice about the Bitfinex chart. It does seem to. I have a working thesis that I've kind of developed over the last several years of backtesting. Sometimes things just click. When you spend a lot of time looking at statistics, when you spend a lot of time testing the same thing over and over again, or executing the same process over and over again and teaching individuals how to use the same process, eventually ideas, just brain cells in your head hit each other and you are gifted with inspiration or an idea or new comprehension of things. And it does seem to me, after backtesting across different markets, it does seem to me like Bitfinex's price action for some reason does seem or suggest itself to be a little bit more predictive than the other markets. Perhaps it's cleaner. Perhaps there are more significant whales on Bitfinex. Obviously, Bitfinex is one of the oldest exchanges and has a lot of liquidity. And again, I do not have hard proof or evidence or statistics to back that up, but it is just currently a gut feeling. And when I get those statistics, I will hold them in my hand and let you guys know. All right. Thank you so much, Jose. Market buying $100 for the cause. That's what we need. We need more like you. You're a good one, brother. You can stay. But nothing significant here. We do have some resistance as we climb higher up and support as we go lower down, but we're nowhere near those. So we are right in the middle of the trading range. So this chart would suggest itself to be a little dangerous to trade off of. And zooming way out, this is my volume profile analysis that I published on TradingView. Overall, my macro perspective on Bitcoin is that we are reaccumulating before a break to the upside. You guys can go check out this analysis on TradingView if you like. It's quite long, it's quite detailed. I've got a lot of information here. You guys can go check this out if you guys want to understand the correlations or the kind of reasonings behind my bias. All right, so 4-hour time frame. I kind of like too. So again, macro, kind of a rectangle top pattern. Looking here on the meso time frames on the 4-hour, nothing super exciting. This did actually end up playing out. So if we pay attention here to ISIS spot here on the 4-hour time frame, we can see it generated a sell signal on this bar. Excuse me, not quite the top, but a good sell signal right after any entry around this area, and price kind of broke out of this. Just level of resistance and support where price was contracting and price attempted to break out a couple times and failed. And then it succeeded here, came back down very, very close, retested that level. And then we had that kind of push right before the end of yesterday's close. And I noticed the regular bearish divergence. I actually posted about this when I took the hedge trade that I did take this morning, right? So although I was long on Bitcoin and I picked up longs this morning prior to kind of the sell-off. So again, overall today so far, well, with the exception of CHZ and with the exception of a few other things, today has been a relatively drawdown day for me. And there's no problem with admitting that. These days are going to happen to just about everybody. And again, the day is not over yet. So we'll see kind of how this oscillates back up. The last 4 or 5 days, I've been pretty active scalping and trading, and the results have been good. So we have a down movement. And again, I quite like this movement to the downside. So again, I bought. As far as reasonings, okay, so I did touch there on the regular bearish divergence actually playing out. You guys can see it here. This is where price makes a high, and then price actually makes a higher high. And then our oscillator, ISIS spot in this case, makes a high and a lower high. So we have a disconfirmation. We have a miscommunication between our indicators, which is measuring momentum, and price action, which is momentum, or moving on momentum, I should say. So none of these lines are really significant or meant to signify any real technical reasoning, although we do see, again, this level of resistance, this lower level of consolidation here, being back tested again as support. And this is where price did turn around, again, on significant sell side volume. So generally, when you see significant sell side volume, for me anyways, I generally look for buying opportunities because those are generally good areas to buy because it indicates a lot of individuals have just sold. If a lot of individuals have just sold, then there's probably not a lot more sellers left in the market. And if there are no more sellers left in the market, price is likely to go up. My friend Bennett over at Bitcoin Trading Challenge talks about those concepts far more frequently than I do. So I recommend you guys go check him out if you guys have not already. All right. Although it is not as hot as it was yesterday, I'm not going to lie. It is quite hot in here. All right. The struggle is real. Okay, so CM Williams also signaling for a local bottom here, and funding finally turning negative, which I kind of like to see. Doesn't mean that it's going to happen exactly the way that I plan, but it will feel good if it does. So let's see here. Let's look at the 15-minute chart here and see if we can kind of break down things that we could have watched for to potentially avoid this scenario happening again. Okay. I don't know if I am a big fan of that. I don't really like those. I don't really like that as a resistance level because it's only retested once. And obviously we don't hold this level as support whatsoever. That line was there for a different purpose because it was measured from below. And so I don't really like any kind of analysis of a rectangle top here. Doesn't really make sense to me. A double bottom that's broken through. But again, these things don't play out with the highest statistics. So I don't want to draw your guys' eyes to things that I don't consider particularly relevant. So probably the only thing that is that does tend to play out well is this sweep right here of liquidity. And by the way, for anybody who was shorting the market this morning, by the way, when this happens, this is the only time when I see this happen, when I see the swing high get swept and we essentially form a swing failure pattern, right? Which is where price actually makes so for a swing failure pattern for a top, price makes a higher swing high, usually just barely, kind of sweeps it, grabs liquidity. That's where stop losses are. And then fails to make and makes a lower low. So we have this right here. Here's our previous swing high right here. Price pulls back, makes a slightly higher swing high, pulls back down, makes a lower low, and then fails to make a higher high. It's generally considered a swing failure pattern. And you take the short, textbook style, when price closes below that previous swing low. So right here, when we have closed below that swing low, you would have got faked out right here if you would have done it here. And because price pushed back up, hit your stop loss. It's probably a lot of people put their stop loss here. And then price collapsed. Now, generally, the advice on trading swing failure patterns is to not close the chart when you're talking about them, is to set your stop loss above the, in this case, it would be the lower high, right? So price makes a new swing high, makes a lower low, and fails to make a new higher high. And then you take the trade when price closes below that lower low, in this case for a long. I don't agree with that. I think that when you see a sweep of a swing high or a range high, if that level is swept, there's really no reason for price to go back up there. So that's the only time I will place stop losses above or below highs and lows, as if I've seen them be swept. If they've been swept, there's really not, and if there's a big movement coming, and I'm predicating my trade based off that because I'm assuming like a quick rejection or a sharp rejection or a bid up, then there's no reason for price to go back there. And if it does, my trade was wrong and I deserve to be stopped out. So that's the kind of the one time I would consider taking, or not the one time I do. That's the only time in my discretionary trading will I put a stop loss basically right at that level or maybe a few ticks above. All right, so I don't know where, oh, of course, because if you put green over red, you get yellow. All right, anyways. So let's look at how this trade could have played out. You either could have got faked out here and you would have been safe if you put your stop loss in the right area, or you could have been correct. Put your trade right here. It's about 1.24% stop. If you listen to what YouTube tells you, then you want a 2-to-1 risk to reward ratio, which means you didn't get it because you can't do that like basic cookie cutter YouTube stuff and make money. It doesn't work. The market knows you want a 2-to-1 risk reward ratio. It's not going to give you a 2-to-1 risk reward ratio 9 times out of 10. Anyway. Don't need AC. You're a lizard. I will say, that I have been called cold-blooded by several, a salty ex-girlfriend. But moving on, not too many. Pretty good relationships with everybody in my life. A couple exceptions, but everybody has those. Let's look at, okay, so that's kind of the analysis of the breakdown. Nothing super exciting here, just to me, in my opinion, for analysis. I wanted to identify that kind of sweep pattern and the swing failure pattern. And what do we have right now? We have a very large volume spike. We do have this immediate resurgence in price. We have CM Williams basically going insane. And we also have the ISIS spot signal, which just signaled. Now, again, it did signal over here. That was a profitable trade, and it signaled again here. We're assuming for a profitable trade as well. Funding has also gone negative. So that is one thing that I wanted to point out. Sorry, that is one thing that I wanted to point out because I've been pointing this out for the last few months, the premium funding indicator. Now, it does not work 100% of the time, or I would not be doing this. I would be in the Bahamas. But generally, the BitMEX funding and premium indicator or index, it's by Neobutane, it's for free on TradingView, can let you know when, if Bitcoin is not trending, okay, if Bitcoin is not trending, because I went over the daily time frame of this and the 4-hour time frame of this and talked about the caveats. When Bitcoin is trending very strongly, either to the long side, if Bitcoin is trending to the long side quite strongly, meaning price is moving up, then funding will most likely be positive, okay? And is not indicative of an imminent reversal, because it's going to stay positive for quite a while. It will be positive as price is melting your face off with its pumps, and it will also be positive when price melts your face off with its reversal. When price is bearish and in a bearish trend, and it is just falling through all the knife catches that you possibly throw into 3 commas, funding is going to be negative, because the majority of the market's going to be short. That's why price is moving down significantly in a bearish trend. This is hurting. This is the hurting effect of a trend trade. And this is when price, so we don't call it premium then. Obviously, price would be in backwardation, and price is going to stay in backwardation. Shorts are going to continue to pay longs until, all the way down, like the whole way down the roller coaster, and at the bottom when it smacks back up and hits you in the face. However, when Bitcoin is in a range, when Bitcoin is quite Bart Simpson-y, then often, at least in my experience, or at least utilizing this to trade over the last, well, I've used it before, but over the last 3 months actively, generally negative funding leads to price moving to the upside, right? Now, not immediately, right? As soon as we get negative funding, it's generally not a good idea to buy to the long side. A couple other things you want to be true. So I have confluence here with ISIS spot, with CM Williams VIX. To be quite honest, I don't actually trade off of this. I threw this indicator on the chart a few days ago, and it is just a good highlight to show you guys another level of confluence that you can find with your trades with another technical indicator. Both of these identify bottoms, so communication between them is good. CM Williams also sometimes will just fire. Oh, it's VIX fix, so it's looking at volatility, but it will fire when will fire after a big pump, which I think is funny. So you just ignore those. But we do have, in this particular situation, we have as I said, you want to be careful about getting long as soon as the premium or contango switches to backwardation, which it has right now. However, in this particular situation, we've come down to a previous level of resistance turn support. We also have the ISIS spot signal and the CM Williams VIX signal. And the biggest thing to me, though, is the volume spike, right? Now, this volume spike could be the first wave of selling initiation. We're going to see another one after this. And on tomorrow's show, I'm going to be coming on, and you will expect me to be quite sheepish and say, well, I got stopped out on that and I was wrong. And that is exactly what I will say. Because I manage my risk, I have other trades on in other markets, this trade could go immediately down to my stop loss, and I will just continue to trade as normal. And that is the goal. That is the goal of a trader. You cannot predict the markets. I figured this out a long time ago. But what I can do is I can develop a strategy that will make me money. That's really all I care about at the end of the day. And I think most traders would suit themselves well if they kind of just realize that if they are able to do that, you are in the you're in the upper echelon of traders. Consistently profitable traders are absolutely in the upper echelon because the majority of traders lose money in the short term and in the long run because they might have good results in the short term. Like they may have fantastic results in the short term, but they are not able to preserve that cash. So, you're always going to have your, this guy just made $2 million out of 5,000 trading penny stocks or DeFi. That can happen. It will happen. But unless that guy cashes out immediately and buys everything that he ever wanted in life, well, then unlikely to hold on to it. If you put it back into the market, the casino will take your money. All right. So I like Bitcoin here for a move into the upside. If I had to look at something intraday here, I would say 93.33 makes sense. Although in this case, normally I would say 93.79, 93.80, retest the breakdown zone. Normally, this is when I would say, well, we just had a big move to the downside, so we're going to try and short it. And if price gets back up to 93.80, well, then we should have no business shorting it. Quite contrary today. So I think that 93.80 has a high probability to be retested because I don't think that this is actually bearish. I think that we are going to go back up. So comfortable in my daily swing long. Today, the end of the day will determine if that bravado is justified or not. But at the end of the day, I have a plan, my entry, my exit, my strategy, my statistics, and you guys do too. If you guys consistently watch this channel, you should be looking at this area of the market and not be overly concerned. You've seen these things before. So I know that the last few, I know that it's been a rough few months trading Bitcoin and we got really excited. This is the one. This is the breakout. Plan B has been posting so much stock to flow stuff. We're going to 222,000 USD BTC. But just hold tight, guys. Just hold tight, trade your strategies, and don't neglect the altcoin. Oops. Okay, let me take a sip of this water. We'll go take a look at Ethereum. Go away. Okay, thank you. All right, so here is Ethereum, USD. Bitfinex still. I didn't end up taking the breakout long here on Ethereum. I do have a measured target at 264.08. That is exact same thing here. Rectangle top measurement, projecting from the top, projecting from resistance in this case to 264.08. As I often say, you should measure the opposite way in case the trade doesn't go your way. I have not done that in this particular case. Now, Ethereum, as I get back into it, on the 4 hour, let's see here, did generate the ISIS spot sell signal here on the 4 hour, which is quite significant. Now, obviously, price did end up pulling back on that candle, but concluding that signal 1.83%. And from that low, it did move up another 5.69%. So didn't catch the top on that particular trade as it did in situations like this, but still quite a good exit if you had an entry anywhere around here. That was a good solid trade. You very rarely catch the top, and we have kind of a double scallop to the upside here. Now check what I think is interesting here is, again, same sell side volume, the regular bearish divergence that we talked about here, where we have the oscillator making a high and then a lower high while price is making a high followed by a higher high. So this signifies weakness in the underlying movement, or the momentum of the movement is what it is designed to mean. We do have CM Williams kind of signaling for a bottom, and I'm sure other indicators would be signaling for a bottom as well. There was something else here that I just saw that I wanted to kind of talk about. No, nothing really actually. With Ethereum, we were just right here this morning, and I did decide to short Ethereum. I decided to fade the breakout on Ethereum because I hadn't done that with anything else, right? I had gone long on Link, KNC, and BTC, and I had all these other trades open. Some right at their entries, some in profit, and KNC, Link, and BTC, for example, today in drawdown. So I wanted to offset that risk somehow. I had quite a lot of long exposure on, so I opened up a pretty good position size on Ethereum. I actually used FTX because I'm doing something with my ByBit ETH account. So I actually used FTX for this particular trade today, and I'll post the result when it's all set and closed. I haven't taken profit yet. I'm going to keep it open. just in case, because I would hate to be very aggressive here and scale into my longs more at this level, and then be wrong about that, and then not have the kind of the warm embracing nectar of the short, which is not a full hedge in any case, but still significantly helping losses. So instead of having what many traders would report, where, oh, I've had a great 4 or 5 days of trading and then one day of losses wipe me out. No, it's more like I had a good 4 or 5 days of trading and then had some bad trades, and that certainly would have put a dent in the profits over the last 4 to 5 days. But I also happen to take a pretty nice hedge short with these as well, which just makes it, okay, well, I had a good 3 days of trading, not 4 days of trading. So same prognosis on Ethereum, looks very, very similar to Bitcoin here. CM Williams, ISA spot signal here on the 15-minute, and high sell side volume. I do like this area for continuation. Now, again, I often say don't buy the first dip, so I'm not going to get freaked out if we do get a second dip here. Don't really expect it to see it as large as that first one. So again, we'll just kind of reevaluate as price continues to evolve and move here. And that's about it for Bitcoin and the majors. I already kind of did my highlights, which was CHZ USDT. I don't really have any other highlights that I've prepared for you guys today. So we will not focus on such things. Let me take a look. Let me take a look at the chat here and see if excuse me. Let me take a look here and see see if there's any chart requests. So I do see some questions related to crypto assets. So let's answer those. Ben says, "Why is Hollow pumping?" Probably because I bought it this morning. I hope so. Okay, I do see one here from T-Dub, OGN BTC. Let's take a look at Dogecoin, though. We do not want to neglect Dogecoin. Listen, Dogecoin has an ascending trend line here, and that's it. You might be able to convince yourself, if you strap the beer goggles on, or if you strap on the hopium goggles, that we're forming an ascending triangle. But Dogecoin's bullish. Probably would not hurt to play it. I'm not gonna lie. Listen, guys, when markets are bullish, chart patterns that you would normally ignore at least give you a frame of reference for entering into a trade. So risk can play off if you time your risk correctly. You're going to have a winning trade. Personally, I'm watching Doge around 45 sats, 40 sats. I would like to see a pullback to 45 sats. Certainly, I want to say I missed my opportunity here, but we were live in the community mentoring session yesterday. I believe it was right here. Yeah, it was right here. And we watched this run all the way up about 50%. So that trade closed. We did signal Doge for the group. That was a good trade. Twice actually, because Jason called it and I called it actually. And yeah, Doge has all the probabilities here of continuing. 51 sats is its current level of resistance. Because of these are low sats, buying breakouts is tricky and hard actually, if you can get filled, depending on what kind of order you're trying to. I mean, you will get filled, but maybe not at the price that you intended. 1 sat higher, which is a significant price deviation. But if we are, you can see I have alerts set for these levels. If we are gracious enough to get a pullback to 45, 40 sats, depending on what's going on at that level, I will potentially be a buyer on Dogecoin. But let's replace Dogecoin. And why is Hollow Chain pumping? Goodness, golly sakes, hopefully because I bought it, and that was my take profit at 10 sats. So, I'll have to check if my order get filled. I'm not too worried about it right now at this moment. All right. OGN BTC, Origin Protocol. Yeah, this isn't too bad. This is not a bad looking chart. Let me get rid of that big green candle on the left, just make sure my that I'm not being biased here. Oh, that's gonna be painful for everybody. All right, siesta time, guys. It's already 12:56. Got to get rolling. Yeah, so big sell-off, some accumulation, initial just big wallet pump, and still a higher low. Nice kind of atom double bottom here. Now that measured move is already actually played out if you traded that double bottom. You have 19% trade from the breakout of the neckline. And yep, 19%. So looking at it, I'm not sure I want to enter it on the daily, but let's see what the Donch says. Let's see what the Donch says. Yeah, so no trade signal on the daily due to volatility. We can see the yellow diamond here on time transformation, denoting a volume spike as well. Okay. Dynamic money flow is flipped positive. TSI is not yet flipped positive. So what I would like to see here with OGN is kind of two options. PTP strategy, you just wait patiently and wait for this trade to actually signal, which will occur if we close the daily above. I must have taken off. Got to put those back on. There we go. Baseline sitting at 3387, so 3,387 sats. If we get the daily close like that, that would be great. Pretty decent sized wick forming so far on the daily. Let's go down and see what price looks like on the 4 hour. We have some rejection right here and some bearish divergence. I'm not really liking this on the 4 hour. Let's pull open our ISIS spot strategy. Yeah, and interestingly enough, ISIS generally selling at the same time. No bearish divergence here on ISIS though. Get rid of the index. Yeah, I mean, there are things to play here as well on the 15-minute. Stare at this chart long enough, you can kind of convince yourself of anything. Maybe a double Eve play here. Targeting about a 15% movement, and you already had that, man. So with OGN, I would set some alerts down at 3170. See if price comes back and shows some bidding support at, buying interest at support here at 3170. Previous resistance turn support, previous support turn resistance actually, and see if we can't get another leg to the upside. Probably targeting somewhere in this consolidation area. We can see this order block right here. So we can target this order block. Nice frame of reference. Or we're going to have to wait until today's daily close, but I don't think we're going to get that daily signal. Excuse me. Yeah, I don't think we're going to get that daily signal in, because it's kind of, TSI is unlikely to cross over prior to daily close. So I would either A, hold off until tomorrow for daily swing trade, where we would potentially be looking at targets of like 38.50 to 45.84, or try to take advantage of kind of the bullish environment. And sorry, let me scroll back out. There we go. And look for that movement to 3170, maybe 3364, but I don't really like that either. Or you wait until you get some new data from what happens here. All right. Okay, so those were some chart requests. If we have time permitting, I will do some others, guys, but we need to get into the rest of the market. Before we do that, if you guys are enjoying the analysis, if you guys would like to learn to understand and analyze the financial markets yourself, whether you're interested in cryptocurrency or Forex or derivatives or stocks or ETFs, we don't generally trade stocks, but we do trade ETFs and CFDs. So doing the nice bridge. Then the Premium Trading Group certainly has you covered. You can join our community of professional traders and begin building your own objective trading strategy, utilizing our Pathways to Profit strategy creation course, or which will actually be getting a beautiful facelift with the Online Trading Academy come Monday. Or you can actually wait a little bit, master that, wait a little bit, and enjoy the modified strategy creation process, or learn how to script in Pine, which we do as well. Yeah, the Wadatar Explosion Strategy Tester is really good as well. I've actually, the last few mentoring sessions, I've had about 3 students tell me that they've developed the strategy that they're currently using with our Wadatar Explosion Strategy Tester, which is a Pine indicator. So, yeah, if you guys are tired of watching poor discipline and always forget my words. If you guys are tired of watching poor discipline, kind of sap away the progress of your trades, you guys would like to trade with a community who actually cares about growth, then you can see all of the things that we do at premium.krakencryptocurrency.com, including our premium indicator suite, our premium signal service, our community mentoring, and our one-on-one mentoring sessions, as well as our online trading academy and all of our educational materials. So premium.krakencryptocurrency.com. Link is in the description below. Now, with that being said, we're going to do the rest of the market wrap up here, looking at things beyond crypto here. And so let's get into this. Just kind of funny that this is up. We'll talk about this later. All right, let's go to. All right. So a little bit of a market pullback today. USO, which was a long USO, which is a long I had open, which had already hit TP1, pulling back, hitting the trailing stop loss that we placed for it. Same with RJZ. Both of these trades are now closed. Good profits on both USO and RJZ. So congratulations to those premium members who took those as well. USDCNH, short on USDCNH, continues to drop. Nice little hammer candle on the daily. I want to see if, let me pull up the actual system here. I want to see if we are not getting an exit signal, but we are getting a green dot of life. So potentially getting an exit signal on the dollar UN come tomorrow. Sorry, we already did that. XPD USD, holding palladium with the grit. Holding palladium with the grit of our teeth, guys. Decent movement from Palladium today, holding this trade from an average entry around the baseline, and not fantastic profits, but decent profits today, and a continuation signal to boot. So definitely be thankful for that. Short on the Aussie Kiwi, as it actually puts in a not a nice, but a decent. I will certainly take it. Bearish candle today. We've already hit take profit in one on this. Price is continuing to move. And the India 50. Hold on, I want to make sure this is not a mistake. I feel like I closed this. Okay, no, I apologize. I'm mistaken. Yeah, so my India 50 CFD trade is still open. I was concerned that we were going to get an exit signal because we had gotten 2 purple dots of death. This is the second purple dot of death actually on the daily. So just one as of yesterday. So any red candle would have generated an exit signal right now. Oh, don't worry, bro. I am no rings, no Rolex today. It is too hot in here for that. If this heat continues, it's gonna be Zoom meeting attire in here. You know, business up top, summer down below. All right, so I wanted to look at. Sorry, let me get back to. Find it. There we go. Sorry. All right, so let's start off with Forex, which I guess I did. So the dollar UN, which is one of the 3 trades that the premium members are in currently in Forex markets, or at least the ones that I've signaled and that I am currently in, is the dollar UN, the Australian dollar versus the Kiwi, and actually that's it. Just 2 Forex trades. I thought there were 3. Okay. Aussie Kiwi and USDCNH. I'm not really too. It is going to be trailing stop loss territory for the dollar UN on daily close. Potentially for the Australian Kiwi as well. Let's double check. Did I? Nope. That's cool. Aussie Kiwi, we had entry on the 1st. All right. If some of these swing trades we've had open for quite a while, so. And yes, it's been maybe June was one of those months where like even a week now feels like forever. So Aussie Kiwi not yet to trailing stop loss territory. So let's not worry about that right now. All right, and then yeah, we looked at XPD. So Palladium, I still like Palladium here and favor it for more upside. That's why I've kind of held this trade for quite a while. It's a little bit of a teeth grinder because of the chop and consolidation, but waiting for Palladium to make its move, and I think it is creeping up in the direction in which I want it to. Other than that, I did not spot any massive Forex opportunities today. I will post those this evening when I do my Forex analysis and commentary. And what I do want to look at, though, is precious metals, which always get requested and people always yell at me if I do not cover precious metals. So, all right, so let's look at gold here. All right, so decent play on gold. Gold is still quite bullish. Gold is having a little bit of a pullback today after reaching a new all-time high, but gold currently trading at about 1801, 887. Now, time transformation is generating an exit signal in the form of a sell-side signal here. It is also generating regular bearish divergence. So I do not think, although gold is quite bullish, it is not immune to the market pressures of buying and selling. So I don't want to say I favor a pullback in gold here, but it certainly would not surprise me. One thing that we can do is we can turn this into a 30 instead, which does, what's funny is that almost never happens. It generally, so 30 and 7 or 10, generally the best settings for time transformation. And Minx too, by the way, if you guys want to check those out. But I was not expecting the 30 length to give the same sell side signal. So gold in pretty deep overbought territory, as indicated here by the Fisher transform algorithm of time transformation and generating that sell side exit signal. Doesn't mean it's going to catch the absolute top, but certainly a good place to take profit. And if you want to be more aggressive, you can let your stop loss run and wait for another entry on gold if you are just trading it speculatively. I really don't think if you are holding gold for the long term, do not sell that. Okay, we need to get into today's news stories here, but no entries on gold and just indicating for a sell here today. We already talked about palladium. Silver is not generating a sell side signal, but it is certainly getting close. It is certainly getting close as we breach 1864. So price on silver looking good. Nice V bottom recovery and just continuing up. I am glad that I have been focusing on silver lately. Platinum. Interesting. Potential reentry opportunity on platinum. We did have this nice kind of, we had this Donchian entry from the Donchian system and pullback to what was currently previous resistance. So this is a nice pullback right within the qualifying line. If one was following the system, then an entry right here would have been no, excuse me, you're wrong. I am wrong. Yeah, that's why this is interesting. Because we did not have true strength confirmation on this candle on the 7th of July. That occurs here on the 8th. But where are we? We're above the qualifying line. Guess what happens now? We're back within the qualifying line. So I actually quite like platinum here. I think I'm going to treat platinum just like Bitcoin and pick me up some. And if it treats me like palladium, well, sometimes that happens. T-Dub got an email last night from Coinbase. OGN was listed on Coinbase Pro. Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't hear that, but I do see Jack. Let me rephrase that. I cannot confirm or deny the validity of that. But if you don't love me at my pullback to baseline, then you don't deserve me at my trailing stop loss. Yeah, I am not sure either if it's actually been listed or if it's just a prospect. I do see. Oh, okay, cool. Hey, what's going on? I see Swing Trade Pros in the house. What's going on, my friend? He was actually, when I opened up the CFD segment, I had the AMD chart open. He was the one that was kind enough to share that prospectus with me. So it was a good morning. Or let's say it's a positive addition to a morning of cryptocurrency drawdown, or at least BTC Link and KNC. All right, so we talked about precious metals. Let's look at the indices real quick, and then we can move into today's news segment, because I want to talk about Ethereum. Got quite a lot to say about Ethereum. Let's see here. The Dow is continuing to slip as we close back below the baseline. Still no DMF confirmation, so no swing shorts on the Dow. This is beginning, and I talked about this before, this is beginning to kind of form a descending triangle pattern. If that is the case, we've still got about 250 to go. So that's about a $7 drop in the Dow, or at least here on the DIA ETF, before we could kind of validate that trade thesis. Other things that this kind of begins to look like, I do generally favor chart patterns a little bit more on higher time frames, on ETFs and stocks. Again, potentially an M-top, but even if that is the case, you would trade it kind of basically the same way. You would measure the target a little bit differently, and it would be a little bit more conservative, and you would still wait for the same thing. You would still wait for this final leg to form at 250. And S180 XT wants my thoughts on Euro USD and the Australian dollar to the dollar. Yeah, give me ask me. I'm sure that Jason has put that in the question segment. Let me get through. Come on, brain, work. Let me get through the indices here real quick and the news, and then I will bring the guys on and we will answer questions as time allows. And I will do that. I will do that, absolutely, unless for some reason I have to run out of my house. NASDAQ alternatively making new highs as the Dow is dropping, but purple dot of death on today's daily candle. So we do have an imminent sell signal coming in. Doesn't mean it's going to happen tomorrow. It will happen tomorrow if we have a red candle, but if we have a green candle, we can prolong that purple dot of death for quite a while, actually. And finally, the SPY. Yeah, really nothing too incredible here. Today could have almost been a reversal baseline bounce trade setup for the SPY, which, I mean, it kind of was. Like, price did move up. You had a good, if you would have waited for the lows today on the SPY and bought, you would be up about 1%. But TSI is not there, so I would not have done that. And time transformation is actually crossing under today, so I would not have done that either. Yeah. And, you know, honestly, just looking a little bit more, a little less bearish, but certainly looking a little bit more like the Dow here than the NASDAQ. So tech giants certainly boosting the market up more than anything else. All right, with that being said. Okay, then we are going to move into, our main story of the day. So the main headline of the day, and what we're going to be focusing on anyways, what we're going to be talking about in the news segment in crypto currently is going to be Ethereum and DeFi and kind of the path forward for DeFi. Before we do that though, we are going to go hear from our friend over at, we're going to go hear from Jason and how his experience with ByBit is doing. So we'll be right back, guys.
Can't catch a break over on BitMEX with all the wicks? Try a better alternative at ByBit.crackingcryptocurrency.com and rest easy for a change.
All right. So, our main story of the day. So we're going to be kind of starting off with this article from BN Crypto, how Ethereum might evolve over the next year. So this is a topic that we have been following here on the show in recent months, actually for a while, is the boom across the decentralized finance sector of the crypto industry, which of course is located predominantly on Ethereum. And the kind of the big headline news that came out a few days ago, I believe it was yesterday or the day before, was that the total value of in USD that is locked up across various platforms and projects utilizing what is loosely called decentralized finance, or DeFi, has topped $2 billion in just less than a month. So the total amount of Ethereum locked into the DeFi ecosystem right now has also seen new record highs of actual quantity of Ethereum locked in at 3.2 million Ethereum locked in. That is almost 3% of the entire Ether supply. But this runaway story of success that relies heavily on what we could call this novel new use case for Ethereum, kind of this repurposing of Ethereum for DeFi, does come at a cost. It does come at a cost. And this is taking a pretty big toll on the Ethereum network, as we've seen a big increase in on-chain activity. And that, of course, has resulted in surging gas prices. Now, gas, for those of you who do not know, is the fee that you pay when broadcasting a transaction on Ethereum to process those transactions. It's the same as the Bitcoin transaction fee that you would pay to send a Bitcoin transaction. But you also pay the gas fee when you execute elaborate smart contracts or inelaborate smart contracts. So smart contracts, give me a long time to explain smart contracts, but essentially every DeFi smart contract dApp protocol platform is utilizing generally more and more novel and complex smart contracts, and these require more and more uses of gas because more and more transactions are being sent. When we combine that with the increase of users on the network, we can see maybe it's a problem, maybe it's not a problem. We can see the current situation, which is that gas fees, transaction fees, are really surging for many people beyond acceptable levels. Like just, for individuals who aren't even utilizing DeFi, they want to send Ethereum. These gas costs are very, very high. For example, I don't do a lot on Ethereum, but I do provide liquidity on Uniswap, and it is kind of a pain to actually get your transaction. And even if you want to move liquidity, I mean, the gas fees are very high, and transactions often get stalled, and it's a big pain, or at least it has been for the last few weeks. And this kind of, in some cases, actually just makes individuals say that, well, okay, we're just not going to send the Ethereum right now. We're going to wait until transaction fees go down, which is certainly not what anybody who is supportive of Ethereum's development wants to see. So this is a chart from bitinfocharts.com. And this is Ethereum's average transaction fees. And we can see from this, let's kind of take a look here. So here is June. This is July, August 2018. It's kind of the peak. It's not really the peak of the ICO craze, but I would say it's the peak of the bad ICO craze. Here is January 2018 when we have the peak of the crypto Twitter altcoin craze. So this is when most altcoins were at or near their all-time highs. And we can see July 2020 right here. We can see that we are right back at those transaction fee levels. And historically, these massive spikes in Ethereum's transaction fees have not led to price appreciation, actually. On the other hand, if we look at something slightly different, this is another chart from BitInfoCharts. If we look at the average transaction value, so on average, what is the size of the transaction that's being sent on the Ethereum network? We find that they're actually down over 90% from that period, which again just goes to bolster the point, which goes to prove the network is now being used far more for small operations and small transactions. So again, what DeFi does, what smart contracts do, and it's not really being utilized and clogged up by movements of large amounts of Ethereum, like large quantities of coin. And this relates to the nature of DeFi's smaller, more complex operations utilizing smart contracts versus the larger, simpler transactions, which characterize your kind of traditional just Ethereum transaction, which would have been very characteristic of the ICO mania of 2017, 2018. And we can further confirm this if we look at the number of transactions on the Ethereum network as well, because they are consistently at all-time high levels of over 1 million transactions per month. It's a trend that many people in Ethereum and DeFi, or at least those who claim to be experts, are describing as unsustainable. And it certainly can be. It certainly doesn't look good, but I don't know if I would call it unsustainable. You don't know what advances the network will make. You don't know what will happen in the short term. But it does, let's say, it does bring out other narratives, such as, competing blockchains, for example, which I don't really think Ethereum has a lot to worry about from competing blockchains. It does seem to me like Ethereum has some of the best development. And you can see projects that might objectively be sleeker, faster, smarter, stronger, just not have the network strength, just not have the marketing, just not have the name brand. So all of these, this is one argument that I have, not one argument, but this is one comeback I guess I have developed in my head to Craig Wright of all people, because he says one thing that he's fond of saying, and that a lot of BSVers are fond of saying, is that for whatever reason, it's always some different reason, BSV is somehow technically superior to Bitcoin. For some reason, I don't understand why their arguments generally don't make sense. But I'm going to go ahead and take the stance that that's not true. But even if it were, nobody cares because nobody utilizes those chains. People utilize Bitcoin for many different reasons. But the big thing is it has the first mover advantage. People know it, people trust it, and you cannot easily kind of get rid of that. And unfortunately, marketing attempts to believe that you can't. They think that if you just tech also tends to believe that you can, that if you can just develop a better product, that it will supplant something. Well, these things take time. These things take a long time. Computers were it took what, like, from, let's say, 1960 to 2010 before we really entered this current age of everything is absolutely digital. And it's still really not that way yet. There are still places you can go, still issues you have with them not being as tech as they really should be, computers and whatnot. So we're going to have a lot of individuals kind of banging the drum that, these ETH killers are just on the sides, ready to overtake this leading smart contract platform. I'm not necessarily sure that is something to be worried about. I'm not saying Ethereum cannot falter under the weight of its own load, but I don't know if that means that I don't think that means that what you will naturally see is an outflow from Ethereum into other coins. I think that Ethereum would pretty rapidly figure its stuff out, and there is brand loyalty. It's going to be difficult to just get everything off of Ethereum. They have to restructure their dApp, just rewrite everything. But we certainly can say that Ethereum, to a degree, is a victim of its own success. And that's a good thing, just like Bitcoin is a victim of its own success, right? One could argue. And just as Bitcoin has decided to evolve with layer 2 solutions like the Lightning Network and other implementations, obviously the Taproot and Schnorr signatures coming very, very soon. These are all things that improve the network, improve privacy. By the way, I have to plug this again. If you guys utilize Electrum, which I do, as I don't only use SPVs, I do run a full node, but if you use Electrum, whether you use it as an SPV or you just use the interface, you can obviously use Electrum any way you want, definitely go download the new version. They have added support for the Lightning Network, submarine swaps, all kinds of great privacy features that make your holdings of Bitcoin more private, more secure, and safer. So I highly recommend you guys go check that out. Totally unrelated to what to what's going on here. And Electrum, definitely not a sponsor, but absolutely would love to. Hit me up, Electrum. So just as so Ethereum, to a degree, victim of its own success, and we could argue needs to evolve with some form of scaling solution, because scaling, just as it was with Bitcoin, has now become the biggest problem going on, or at least the biggest talked about topic about why we need to go to Ethereum 2.0, and we have Ethereum 2.0 coming out. But this means that the next 6 to 12 months are likely going to be very, very interesting for the Ethereum network. But there is obviously very interesting developments on the horizon for Ethereum in the pipeline, slated to arrive, let's say at the as early as end of year, but we could say really needs to come faster, but it's going to get there eventually. And this is because gas fees are getting very, very high. ETH has to adapt quickly in order to survive, or it's going to end up getting eaten by, well, at least this would be the argument, that it could stand to either lose its momentum, potentially lose market share, which I don't think is really that valid of a concern, or again, just continue to get bogged down and delayed. And again, obviously we have to take into account how difficult it is to do something like this is really a big experiment, right? Bitcoin has chosen not to hard fork. We've seen projects decide to hard fork off of Bitcoin. Anybody can hard fork Bitcoin anytime they want and attempt to promote that as the new coin. It hasn't worked very well, but this is really the first time that we'll see something like such a massive blockchain like Ethereum go to 2.0 and really kind of have the intention to migrate everything there, because eventually Ethereum 1.0 will be a shard in the Ethereum 2.0 network is the roadmap. So let's go to kind of this pretty long thread that I think sums this up. This is from Tyler Smith. Now, granted, this is, before I trigger anybody out there, this guy is a very ardent Ethereum supporter. So you may disagree with some of what he says. I disagree with quite a bit of what he says, but this is certainly interesting for getting kind of a snapshot of what what's coming in Ethereum's progress over the next year or so, 6 to 12 months. So he is Tyler Smith. He's a validator on an ETH 2.0 testnet. He posted a crash course here on Twitter for what's to come for Ethereum in a series of tweets, writing that scaling is really the big issue for Ethereum at the moment, and it is also the root of current objections in the cryptocurrency community to ongoing DeFi, or the ongoing DeFi mania. So, according to this individual, he predicts that decentralized applications on Ethereum are going to begin adopting and implementing significantly layer 2 scaling solutions that hopefully will make executing smart contract functions on the network more efficient. Over the past few months, several new layer 2 scaling solutions have been deployed and tested, and they're now ready for prime time. And the ball is really now in the independent dApps court. And it's just a matter of time where they choose their own preferred scaling solution based on the needs of their specific service and the trade-offs between them. Now, that sounds very, very hopeful as far as, once these second layer solutions are implemented, it's just going to be a rapid adoption of them. As much as, listen, as ardent of a Bitcoin maximalist as I am, we haven't seen that. We certainly haven't seen that with the Lightning Network. We haven't seen that kind of same hopeful explosion of adoption that would make me very, very hopeful for, let's say, Ethereum's adoption here. Now, could happen, and there is a little bit of a financial incentive here to get on this, to adopt this layer 2 scaling solutions due to the rising gas fees. But this is not coming immediately. Even if it is adopted quite quickly, it is not right around the corner. Yeah, and another thing that would help there is, I see, Ethereum is currently bottlenecked. Ethereum can only process 15 transactions per second. And if we get L2, or if we get layer 2 scaling solutions, then that would dramatically improve the functioning of the network. And, the first real, if we think back to we have not yet seen an Ethereum decentralized application with over 1 million users. It's kind of a vaunted milestone that Ethereum wants to reach. Now, we tried that with CryptoKitties, and that clogged up the network. So the introduction of layer 2 scaling solutions would likely bring in the ability and certainly the desire is there, the user base is there, to get a decentralized application with over 1 million users, which would be cool because most dApps are not really overly being utilized. And again, 2017, CryptoKitties game was launched on Ethereum, and that ground the network to a halt due to transaction demand. But if we kind of look at the way that can be twisted negatively in the term of FUD, critics are likely to persist that scaling solutions that are being floated on Ethereum are inferior. And this is a very common thing that we hear in Bitcoin, for example, that no, you don't want to scale on layer 2, you want to scale on layer 1. And you hear very similar arguments being made against Ethereum by so-called Ethereum killers. Like, well, you guys have to go to layer 2 to scale. We're scaling on layer 1 because our blockchain is better. Well, yeah, but nobody's using it, man. So is it really better? Like, if you have a nicer, shinier action figure over there, but nobody plays with it and everybody plays with my old busted up He-Man, like, whose action figure is better? Over 9,000! That certainly scared me. I got to turn I know you guys saw that. So if you guys want to just go ahead and screenshot that and play that back anytime I act a little bit too bravado, yes, I just got spooked by my own speakers because I am not used to having my speaker set up like that. Moving on. So, these layer 2 solutions, these layer 2 scaling solutions are kind of predicted to be the thing that will unburden the Ethereum blockchain, allow new dApps to develop or grow. And, but unfortunately, because we have to wait on layer 2 scaling solutions, we will likely not see big drops in transaction fees anytime soon. So I do not think that this is going to go away quickly. It's not a problem that's quickly going to be solved. Now, when we talk about the big update coming, which is Ethereum 2.0, there we go. Yeah, let's get down here a little bit. Sorry, I wasn't really following along with that. But Ethereum 2.0 phase 0 is expected to roll out very soon. Extensive testing for it. It's already been carried out. Experimentation on test nets for Ethereum 2.0 is being carried out on multiple test nets by many, many, many individuals. And so far, all of the reports on that seem very, very promising. And once the beacon chain actually goes live on the main net, then transitioning to proof of stake will begin. And what you're going to see is what this individual talks about is major exchanges and crypto investment firms are going to be seeing a big marketing push and trying to get individuals to stake their Ethereum on their platform. Because if they can get individuals to stake Ethereum on their exchange, their platform, whatever, then those individuals are going to be locked in staking with them until the next phase of the Ethereum 2.0 rollout. And that rollout is actually expected to come out pretty soon because all this testing on testnet has been done. So this seems helpful. Now, again, Ethereum 2.0 has been a meme for a long time, but it does seem like it's going to be coming this year, and it's like almost right around the corner. So, phase 0 is also expected to bring along some controversy and competing ideologies over custodial and non-custodial services powering the staking on the new network, with custodial services expected to be very popular out of the gate, being offered by exchanges. Holding the bulk of liquidity during phase 0. So that's just roughly what I was just saying. In terms of price projections for Ethereum, phase 0 will have to roll out on the main. This is something this is where I critique a little bit. He says, as far as price predictions, phase 0 will have to roll out on the mainnet by the end of 2020 in order to not lose investor confidence about Ethereum 2.0 being deferred any further. Otherwise, many expect the Ethereum price to be punished even harder in an already brutal market as competitors come online around that time and begin to steal the thunder. Again, I'm not sure. All right, sorry about that. So forgot my place there. Yeah, I'm not sure how overly concerned I am about the competitors, these Ethereum killers. But I do agree with him here that if Ethereum is, if the mainnet is not rolled out by the end of 2020, then there is going to be quite a maybe a confidence draw. But at the other hand, like, are they going to end up pulling their money? Or are they just going to suck it up? So far, they've just been sucking it up. Like, they've been sucking it up for like 4 years. So I'm not sure I'm concerned about that as much as it's interesting to talk about for news headlines. But if Phase Zero does successfully deploy on the mainnet and staking Ethereum gains traction, it's going to usher in a pretty big, it's quite likely that will usher in a new wave of FOMO because, oh, you can stake the second most popular cryptocurrency out there and get passive income rewards. Who wouldn't want to do that? And you could just imagine the kind of FOMO or the bid up of price alongside, hopefully, a nice, just general bull market, right? That's going to be occurring as we continue to progress this year. And again, the premise of Ethereum 2.0 materializing really helps strengthen that, right? And yeah, so it's easy to see how these can create very bullish environments. And if Phase Zero does, let's see here. Sorry, no, the make or break event that is Ethereum 2.0 Phase Zero mainnet launch, probably going to be the most pivotal event right now in cryptocurrency since the launch of Ethereum 1.0 itself, right? He speculates here that that once Phase Zero is in fact stable and successful, ETH hodlers will most likely begin diving into Ethereum 2.0 with their own bags. And they have this entire architecture of being able to loan collateral. You see, you got to put your money into Compound and then take it off and then put it into Etherscan and pull out some USDT and then put it over to Ray. And it's pretty interesting how the leverage Ethereum can be levered up by investors. So we can have a very, very, very bullish snowballing effect here moving forward. And I'm not going to ignore this. That is something that I pay attention to. Certainly, that is something that I pay attention to. Now, on the reality side, this new era of ETH staking rewards and decentralized finance rewards might create a tax nightmare, an absolute tax nightmare. Depending on how tax authorities handle the matter of taxing Ethereum 2.0 returns. Could prove to be not an issue, but because there might be significant capital there, they are going to make it an absolute nightmare eventually. So this and other related issues may actually increase pressure on the Ethereum Foundation to better flesh out the plans of an extended Ethereum 1.0 to Ethereum 2.0 bridge. And again, as I said earlier, that the current plan for that is to bridge Ethereum 1.0 to 2.0 during phase 1.5, and that's when Ethereum 1.0 becomes a shard on ETH 2.0. But a lot of that is pretty murky and unclear. But the impact certainly of decentralized finance on Ethereum and its real impetus for, I guess, the rebranded use case of Ethereum, but this real impetus to push to Ethereum 2.0 and develop second layer scaling solutions so that we can free up transaction fees so that we can do more of this DeFi stuff, this artificial yield farming, is big. This is probably one of the biggest things going on in cryptocurrency right now. But some of these things are still kind of distant prospects. We have the Ethereum 2.0 mainnet, which is a little bit less of a prospect, but that is, a little bit less distant. But if anything is a little unsure, it's probably that. L2 scaling is probably far more certain than Ethereum 2.0, but we'll see. We'll see. All right. Speculation that Ethereum's new design is going to control the interest rate of a totally new asset class, which some refer to as crypto treasury bonds. There will, if decentralized finance is successful, and if Ethereum 2.0 is successful, then we haven't even seen the beginning of decentralized finance yet, because of the limitations of the Ethereum network right now on smart contracts. So if those limitations are removed through ETH 2.0 sharding and through layer 2 scaling solutions, hold on to your hats, guys. Hold on to your hats. I could see, and he kind of ends here. I'll just quote him for the ending here. He says, Oh, know what? This is not it. So sorry, this isn't a quote from. You know, if Ethereum can scale quite well here, give staking rewards and really, you know, put jet boosters on decentralized finance, then it's not crazy to see some, you know, another ICO style surge in Ethereum's price. It's not outside the realm of possibility. It's actually probably quite probable. So, interested to hear you guys' thoughts and opinions on Ethereum. We have a lot of viewers who are obviously quite bullish on Ethereum, or quite involved in the Ethereum community. I've talked to quite a few of them. You know, one of my good friends still mines Ethereum. So, you guys, let me know in the comment section down below. We're here in the live chat. Do you think Ethereum 2.0 is going to be successful? Do you think L2 scaling solutions are going to be successful? Do you guys have a timeline on those? And what are your guys' thoughts on decentralized finance? And how are you farming yield right now? Yes, it all starts with compound, man. Put your money in compound. All right, so that's kind of all the. Hold on, let me check here. Maybe notable mentions. Yeah, actually, just a few little things. Coinbase is reportedly preparing for a stock market listing later in 2020. So Coinbase is so just the news, the scuttlebutt from Reuters is that Coinbase is preparing to be listed on a major stock exchange in the near future, but it's not telling us who, and it's waiting on a green light from the SEC. Now, this would be the first cryptocurrency exchange ever, if it is successful, to be listed on a traditional market. Right? Now, some mining companies have some mining companies are listed for Canon Creative, for example. Now they are actually preparing for an initial public offering. It is yet unclear if Coinbase will opt for an IPO to accompany public trading. While raising additional capital is often associated with the listing, its existing share could simply be made available for trading with no additional funding, so no actual IPO. And Coinbase was valued at more than $8 billion in its last private round. So definitely interesting. Not necessarily anything that I can speculate on or make money on, but it's decent to see. All right, so some random address that had $100,000 of USDC was frozen at law enforcement's request. So the Center Consortium, Centra, right? I think that's from Final Fantasy VII, right? They blacklisted a USDC address in response to a law enforcement request, freezing $100,000 with a stablecoin. Let's see here. So Centra issues the USDC on the Ethereum blockchain. And they were the ones who did the deed. And they cannot provide any specifics about the blacklisting. It appears to have occurred in mid-June. So I guess we don't really know any of this. Just another warning, guys. When you use centralized stablecoins, they're fine to speculate with. But if you're holding large quantities of wealth in them, you don't own them. They can be frozen. And just in case you thought you were safe over in the dollar Tether, Tether has blacklisted 39 Ethereum addresses worth millions of dollars of the USDT. So don't think just because Bitfinex doesn't like law enforcement that the USDT is not going to comply. So when reached for comment, Stuart Hoegner, general counsel at Bitfinex, sister company of Tether, they really mean the same company as Tether, told the block that Tether works with international law enforcement agencies and moves to block addresses when necessary. Tether routinely assists law enforcement in their investigations through the freeze address feature. Tether has been able to help users and exchanges to save and recover tens of millions of dollars stolen from them by hackers. So, not your keys, not your coins, guys. I mean, obviously, never supportive of anybody losing their funds to an exchange or an exploit. These are powers that can be used for good as well as for ill, but just highlighting the reality of the situation that we exist in. All right. With that being said, all right. It is quickly getting into the 2 o'clock period. You know, I really want to just double check because I had something pop up on my calendar here. I want to make sure that it is. Yep, I think that is the case. Just a second, guys. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. I have got to start boogieing out the door. I do have a meeting at 2 o'clock. This is what happens when I do not check my Google Calendar in the morning. All right. Well, with that being said, let me take a quick look at that gentleman's. Chart requests. That's kind of a disappointment because I really did want to bring Jack and the guys on. I know they had a lot of thoughts about Ethereum, and that's a good conversation to have. So let me find those chart requests real quick. Okay. I looked at OGN BTC, and for S180 XT, shorts on euro, dollar, and the Aussie dollar. Okay, let's go check. All right, short on the euro dollar. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm not going to look at my indicators. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't make terrible sense. I pointed this out. This makes a little bit more sense if we look at the euro dollar on the weekly. It has essentially been a very big range trade for almost 5 years, and we do have this brief breakout period here, and then it's a range broken up into trends. All right, it's a range broken up into trends. Now we already reached from a little fake breakout of the trend back all the way down to the bottom of the range, and I've pushed up twice now. So this is a little short for me. Obviously, somewhere up here would be a little bit better of an entry to make me just feel comfortable kind of looking at it like that. But let's see. I feel like this would not be a trade that I'd be in, but I certainly do see some decent metrics here that we can identify in a trade. This is Actually, I'm not going to lie. I'm going to take some of that back. This actually seems more to me like sideways consolidation after a move up, which I'm generally biased to assume is going to continue to the upside. So I would actually like to see a major break of this to the downside or be in somewhat of a bearish trend before I actually want to go short. There's been some good short, or maybe one good short in here. If you shorted somewhere around here, I'm able to take this to the bottom of the current range. But right now, you just have some support and resistance. And probably a little bit fairer right there. That's some support and resistance. Now you have potential double bottom, you have potential triple top. You have a lot of things that you could take trade theses off of, and maybe even a swing failure pattern if we came down here to the lower time frames. Let's see here. Yep. Sweep. We have not made a lower low yet. Have not made a lower low in the 4 hour. So, all right. So that's discretion. Let's look what the indicators say. Ultimately, they make my life easy. Okay. The first thing we want to look at is, are we getting an objective trading signal from time transformation? We are not. We are pinching, which means we will likely get a signal if this has some follow through today or tomorrow. If we have a little bit more of a sell off today, and certainly if that follows through tomorrow, we will potentially get that signal. True Strength Index is bearish, so our confirmer is confirming bearish trades, and dynamic money flow is also bearish. So you do have really everything you need here for a short, except for price is above the baseline. So we need to close below 1.12772. Get that exit. And kind of zooming out on the daily here. Not really lower lows, man. Not really lower highs, consistent highs and higher lows. So I don't know how I feel about this one. I would almost be inclined to take a reversal baseline bounce if my indicators weren't bearish. And, well, only 2 of them are. And 2 of them are not. So, euro dollar isn't really here for me right now. I don't think it's a bad trade. This is certainly not. If you say you're short in the euro dollar here, and I'm looking at this daily chart, it doesn't strike me as wrong or foolish. It's just not a trade I would take. Yeah. I don't see a whole lot of weakness in the trade. But let me know how it goes, man. I'm kind of interested. This is kind of an interesting area of the market. So let's look at the Australian dollar real quick. To the Aussie dollar here for you. And same thing. So this is kind of a very similar pattern, right? This is consolidation after a movement to the upside. It looks almost rectangular to me, or very consistent support, very consistent resistance. Really, this is our first kind of drive up toward resistance, and we're not quite making it as high as the swing high. But we did establish consistent support in here, so I don't really see a whole lot of weakness here. Time transformation is crossing under, so that is a trading signal to short, and True Strength Index is bearish, so that is confirming the short. But dynamic money flow is telling us that money is flowing into the markets, and prices above the baseline, so that lets us know that the trend is still bullish. So the first thing I would need to see for the Aussie dollar is not to 0.69124 to get taken out. We need to close below not 0.69124. And honestly, it's probably going to take a while for dynamic money flow to dip after such a long, extended, pronounced trend. So yeah, I would really, you might be right. You are certainly attempting to catch the big, to catch a reversal trade. I think you still might be too early. But I do not wish you ill on any of these trade setups. I actually wish you quite the best, and I hope you kill it. All right, let me run through. Sure, we can look at these with the Hall 60, but if you're utilizing the Hall 60, it's going to say the same thing as your Hall 60 did. So this is not. I'm not actually currently using these on Forex. So with the Hall 60, yep, certainly does look a little bit more bearish, and with the right indicators, it is going to look more bearish. All I can do. So what I've done here is I've just applied the system that I'm currently using for Forex that I have good stats on. Not that the Hall 60 doesn't have good stats, just that they're simply calling for different things, and that's always going to happen. There's going to be certain strategies that are wrong at certain areas and right at certain areas, and other strategies that are right at certain areas and wrong at certain areas. So, and well, here's the thing, right? Well, no, okay. So I see what you're saying. This is, so if I do everything, but I just change this to the Hall 60. Okay, let's try that. Sorry. Let's do that then. Okay, so we are going to be below the Hall 60 here. Yeah, I would, again, dynamic money flow for the Aussie dollar, not confirming. And you could, we are not in a bearish trend. You can look at that chart and see that we're not. The baseline is hinting that we should be trading the downside, but we have done nothing but move sideways. We have not broken down. We have not taken out the first low generated off the swing high. So there's been no change in market structure whatsoever. Again, you might be right, but you're looking for a reversal, and I don't necessarily see the evidence of that yet. The euro dollar kind of presents a little bit more of a compelling case here. We have a low, and kind of what you're doing here is just trying to play the range. I think is the safer thing. So looking for price to come back down here to previous lows makes a whole lot of sense here to fade this movement. I would exit if price closed above 1.13601. So, overall, I think pretty interesting trade setups, man. Pretty good looks. I don't disagree with them. Not trades that I would take, though. All right, I have a call in 4 minutes, so I super got to run, guys. I am so sorry to have to run and desert you guys and leave you like this. I will attempt to have a more fleshed out last segment of the show and answer far more questions in tomorrow's episode. So, things that I want to say before I go. Answered questions as I was able to. Upcoming events, we are obviously, go check out our Twitter at tw.krakencryptocurrency.com. See our most recently pinned message. We are, of course, doing a large members come home campaign. So for previous premium members who were subscribed, at a prior time when we offered less services, when we offered less indicators, when we offered less educational material, we definitely want to offer those individuals an opportunity to come back home and experience all the things that we have added. We have new analysts, we have new mentoring, we have new videos, we have new indicators, new strategies, new signals. So we've added a lot, and we want them to have the opportunity to experience that, especially at a time when people could really use the community and the extra income. So make sure if you guys are soon, you will want to be checking your emails. So soon you will receive in your emails, if you are a previous premium member, an invitation to come home with a pretty nice discount. And if you are one of those individuals that was a previous premium member and you do not receive an email soon, then hit us up and see if we made a mistake. We should have all of our, we'll know who you are. Let's put it that way. Upcoming events, nothing super serious. Make sure to post down in the comment section down below so I can grab your comment and talk about it on stream. And thinking about doing something super special with the comment section down below here on YouTube, but I'll let you guys know. Whatever you guys do, make sure to join our free trading community in Discord, discord.crackingcryptocurrency.com. It's a great place to be, to meet like-minded traders and investors, and to grow your skills. And visit the website at crackingcryptocurrency.com to view all our products and services, everything that we offer as a group, our blogs, and all of those things. With that being said, I'm going to roll over to, actually, no, I'm not. I don't need to roll over to the second shot. I can just go ahead and let you guys go gently from here. Thank you guys so much for joining me for another episode of Breaking Bitcoin. We will be back tomorrow at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. Remember, as we kind of exit here, that the technicals are good, but at the end of the day, it is risk management and discipline that's responsible for paying the bills. All right, not how good your analysis is. So, and on the back of that, always take time to appreciate the things in your life that matter. So take a break from the charts for once in a while and go tell the people that you love them. All right, with that being said, trade safely, guys, and I will see you tomorrow at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. Thank you to everybody who put in work making the show possible. Big shout outs to the team. Thank you guys so much. Sorry that I couldn't bring Jack and Jason and Alex on, for example. I really hope that I can get them on tomorrow. I've just been rambling too much this week. All right, you guys have a great day. Cheers, guys.